And Martin McGuinness, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us on Sky News this afternoon. The loss of an extraordinary politician, and it's really summed up by your relationship with him. You went from very fierce political opponents to being very close friends.
Yes, well, I'm obviously very sad to hear that Ian has died, and I want to extend my deepest and heartfelt sympathy to Ian Paisley, his wife, and to his family. He and I suppose, will be recognised as two people from diametrically opposed political positions, even described, as enemies, who had the ability to come together in the peace process in the office of First and Deputy First Minister for 1 year, developing a positive and good working relationship, and indeed a very powerful friendship which has existed to this very day.
And of course, you were even known at one point as the Chuckle Brothers. That's despite his rather fierce public persona. What does that tell us about the man behind the image?
Well, I think that it tells us that Ian Paisley was someone who made a great effort to, once he decided to join with Sinn Féin in government, to do it wholeheartedly and to do it with some considerable grace. And throughout that year that we were in government together, he treated me with only respect and friendship, and I similarly made huge efforts also to ensure that we sent a very positive message to the entire community about how all of us, and despite our differences and despite of our differences, allegiances, how we all must work together for the greater good. So I think, he was undoubtedly a remarkable politician. He and I were diametrically opposed to each other for many, many decades. But I think the peace process, which, is 20 years old this year, had a huge effect on many, many people, not least on Ian Paisley himself, whenever in 2007 he decided to come on board in inclusive negotiations. I think that only Ian Paisley could have delivered the Unionist political process for such a transformative change, which brought about great change in terms of politics and security in the North. I just think that his loss today is something that will be deeply felt by passionate supporters of the peace process.
Indeed. I mean, and of course, as a man, he was never afraid of making his views heard. Just briefly, if you will, what did you make of the instances, for example, when he heckled the Pope?
Well, obviously, myself as a Catholic, I didn't like that. I thought that it was a wrong thing to do. And history will go through Ian's career, as no doubt someday they will go through my career, and they will record all the notable events and instances, controversial and otherwise. But I think today I just want to think of someone who made a positive contribution to the peace process, who was very faithful to that, once he made the decision to come on board. And many times I reflect that it was an awful pity that Ian wasn't 30 years younger.